class 2 extends class 1. So in this example, observe here, in this example, in this example, so there is a keyword called as extends. There is a keyword called as extends. To the keyword, to this keyword, we have two parts. We have two parts. The first one is left hand side and right hand side. So let us assume this is LHS and this is RHS. Okay. So we have extends keyword. We have extends keyword. To the extends keyword, we have LHS and RHS. So we call it as subclass. We call it as subclass. And right hand side one is called as superclass. Superclass. Okay. So coming to the point. So inheritance is nothing but getting the properties from one class to another class. So there is a keyword called as extends. There is a keyword called as extend. So stop writing all. Close the records. Stop writing. Okay. Listen the class. So there is a keyword called as extend. To the extend keyword we have LHS and RHS. So LHS one we call it as subclass and RHS one we call it as super class, right? So the program to display or implement single inheritance. So program to implement single inheritance. So let us take an example. Let us take an example. So first class, the first class is called as student data. The first class is called as student data. The student data contains two variables. Student data contains two variables. The first one is roll number and the second one is student name. How many variables? Two variables. So roll number and student name, and it contains the constructor and it contains the constructor, which takes two parameter roll number and name. Roll number and name. So we are storing the roll number and the name to the class property called as student data, the property called as student data. Okay. And we have some method here, and we have some method here. The method name is show. The method name is show. The method name is show. Show will display the roll number and name. Show will display the roll number data and name of the student. Roll number data and name of the student. Okay. So first class is student data. It contains two variables, roll number and student name, and the constructor which takes the same roll number and student name. And after that there is a method called as show method. After that there is a method called as show method. The show method responsibility is to display the roll number and name. Roll number and name. And another class we are taking here. Another class we are taking here. So the next class is student class. The next class is student class, extends student data. Extends student data. So in this example, student data is a superclass and student is a subclass. And student is a subclass. The student data contains roll number and student name. and student class contains couple of variables like MPC. What is MPC? These are the variables for the different subjects. Let us assume maths, physics, and chemistry. And we have the constructor and we have the constructor here. Which class constructor? Student class constructor. Student class constructor, which takes all the properties from student and student data. So M1, M2, M3, M1, M2, M3 from student class, roll number and name from student data class. Okay, M1, M2, M3 are from subclass. The roll number and name from superclass. Roll number and name from superclass. So which is superclass? Student data is a superclass and student is a subclass. So right. So coming to the point. So I am using super constructor here. I am using which constructor? Super keyword or constructor. So super in a sense we need to call the superclass method or constructor. Superclass method or constructor. So when we use the super keyword, when we use the super keyword, so it will not call subclass methods. It will not call subclass method or subclass constructor. Directly it will call superclass constructor. Superclass constructor. So what is the superclass constructor? Student data. How many parameters? Two parameters. Roll number and name. So that is the reason why along with this super method, along with the super constructor, we have to supply rule number and name. We have to supply rule number and name so that the superclass constructor will be called by supplying rule number and name. And after that, so we have different subjects. We have different subject M1, M2, and M3 subject scores. And we have a separate method called as total marks, and we have separate method called as total marks, which returns the integer, which returns the integer by adding all the subject marks here, by adding all subject marks here. And we have another method average, and we have another method average, which returns float, which returns float by calculating the sum of the all the subject, sum of the all the subject divided by some total value, divided by total percentile, divided by total percentile. So it will calculate the average. After that method, so we have a display method. We have a display method. So display method responsible to call the show method. Display method responsible to call the show method. Show method contains what? To display the roll number and name. Show method will display the roll number and name. Show method will display the roll number and name. So roll number and name from which class? Student data class. Which class? Student data class. And marks in three subject like M1, M2, M3. So maths, physics, chemistry will be displayed from subclass, and the total we can get from the method called as total marks, and the average we will get from the method called as AVG method. So how many methods are available? So we have display method, we have display method, so we have average method, so we have total marks method, as well as we have show method, as well as we have show method. Show method will display the roll number and name, and total marks will display the total marks here. Average will display the calculate average and return, and display method is responsible to get all the output and display here. Get all the output and display here. So display is a static method or non-static method? Static or non-static? So non-static method available in which class? Student class. Which class? Student class. So we need to create the which object? Student object. We need to create which object? Student object. How many parameters we need to supply? So there are five parameters. What are the five parameters? So we have roll number, we have name, and we have M1, we have M2, we have M3. So we have to supply the roll number, we have to supply the name, and we have to supply the subject marks. We have to supply the subject marks. So these values, this 501 come and place inside the variable called as roll number. The 501 will be placed inside the variable called as roll number. That roll number will supply to the student data. So here the rule number I named from going to store in superclass. Going to store in superclass. The marks of the different subjects are going to store in subclass. Are going to store in subclass. So the display method will get all the properties of the a student. So roll number I named from superclass and marks, total marks and average from subclass. So there are two classes are available. So first one is student data and the second one is student. Student data contains only two properties, roll number and name, and student contains three properties, subject marks M1, M2, M3. Based on the subject, so it will calculate the total and it will calculate the average. So by combining these two classes, we are combining the two classes. By combining these two classes, we are getting the properties from one class to another class. We are getting the properties from one class to another class. So what is the program? So what is the program? So we have a class name called as main2. We have a class name called as main2. So we need to compile the class main2.java, main2.java. So after compilation, so we can able to execute the same program by supplying the class name main2. Class name called as main2. So what is the rule number? So 501. What is the student name? Ruchita. And what are the subject marks? 65, 54 and 71. And what is the total marks? 190. And what is the average? 63. So 63. So these two properties from superclass and these properties from subclass. So this is what getting the properties from one class to another class. So from two classes, by using two classes, we are able to access the properties, that is single inheritance. That is single inheritance. So single inheritance means one class can extend another class. One class can extend only a single class, that is called as single inheritance. That is called as single inheritance. So simple. So this is the output. And coming to the next point, multi-level inheritance. What is the multi-level inheritance? Multi-level inheritance. What is multi-level inheritance? There are types of inheritances, right? So single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, and multiple inheritance. Java does not support multiple inheritance. Why? Because there is a ambiguity and there is a duplicate objects will be created or not. Yes or no? Right. So we'll demonstrate multiple inheritance here. Multiple inheritance here. So there is a class A. There is a class A. So class A contains one variable here and constructor variable constructor, and there is a method called as while. There is a method called as while show A, and another class we have that is class B. Another class we have that is class B. So B also contains one variable. So B also contains one variable and one constructor and show B method, and while show B method we have, and another class we have, the class is nothing but C. So same it contains variable. So same it contains variable and something, right? So I'll save this file as main3. I'll save this file as main3. I'll copy, I'll paste here, main3 dot Java. Main3 dot Java. So just give a minute. I will arrange these lines. Okay. So wide show, right? So observe here, multi-level inheritance. Multi-level inheritance. What is multi-level inheritance? If one class can extend another class first, next that class can extend some other class. So in this example, class C extends class B in the first level, and in the second level, class B extends class A, and finally, class A extends, class A extends, class A extends. సో మన ఇన్హెరిటెన్స్ డిస్కస్ చేసేటప్పుడు ఒక ఎగ్జాంపుల్ చెప్పామా, క్లాస్ 3 ఎక్స్టెండ్ క్లాస్ 2, క్లాస్ 2 ఎక్స్టెండ్స్ క్లాస్ 1, క్లాస్ 1 ఎక్స్టెండ్స్, క్లాస్ 1 extends what? The superclass called as object. The superclass called as object is the superclass to all the Java classes or not? So now tell me. So class C, Keyword always represent super keyword always represent superclass methods. Super keyword represent superclass methods. So super keyword always represent superclass functions. Superclass functions are constructors. Are constructors. Super keyword always represent superclass functions or superclass constructors. This keyword always represent current object. This keyword always represent current object. Current object or subclass object or subclass object. So current object is fine. So current object. So this keyword always represent current object. Super keyword always represent superclass functions and constructor. So in this example, so we are calling this dot A, this dot A. So this means current object. So this means what? Current object. There are two variables, int A and int A. So int A and int A. So this is called as global variable. This is called as global variable, and this is called as local variable, and this is called as local variable. So this is called as local variable. So what we need to do is we have to store the local variable data to the global variable. So when you observe the local variable name and the global variable name is same. The local variable name and the global variable name is same. So that is the reason why. So if I want to store local variable data into the global variable, so we have to use this keyword. We have to use this keyword. So this dot A equals to A. So this is local and this is global. This is local and this is global. And we have a method called as show A to access the A variable. Show A to access the A variable. And we have super and we have super. So it will call superclass constructor. So it will call superclass constructor. Superclass constructor. It will call superclass constructor. Recently. So it's supplying a value to the super keyword and this dot b current object. The current object is nothing but b. So we are storing same again local variable data to global variable. Again here local variable b and local variable b is same. So that is the reason why. So we should use this dot b equals to b and we have show b method to display the b variable. Again, we are using c variable here. So again, we are calling a and b. So a and b belongs to super classes. That is the reason why. So we are forwarding a and b to the super classes and this dot c. So current object. So variable, local variable and global variable are same. So that is the reason why. So this dot c equals to c. And after that, we have void show c method. So void show C method internally calls show A method from A class, show B method from B class, and after that it will print the C value, and after that it will print sum of A plus B plus C. So the program name, so main 3, we have a main method. I am supplying A value is 4 and B value is 7 and C value is 9. So it will return A and B values from void show A, that is 4, and the b value I can get from show b method and the c value I can get from show c method. Show c method. So after that I can get sum of the a plus b plus c a. So the main method name is class name is main 3. Main 3. So java c space. So java c space main 3 dot java. So java c space main 3 dot java and after that java space main 3. So java space main 3. So the a value is 4 and b value is 7 and c value is 9. The combination of, so 4 plus 7 and 9 equals to 20. So 4 is from class A, 7 is from class B, and 9 is from class C. So that is the reason why. So in the multi-level, so we are creating a single object. So we are creating the single class object, that is submost class object. That is submost class object. So with the help of the subclass object, we can able to call superclass methods also. We can able to call superclass methods also. So that is the reason why. So inheritance, multi-level inheritance. So class A extends class B extends class A, class A extends object. Class A extends object. So this is multi-level inheritance. This is multi-level inheritance. So we have some abstract class also. We need to uh, copy this program. Observe here. Silence. I'll make this class name is main 5 or main 4. Need to copy main 4 dot Java. Main 4 dot Java. Okay, it contains some abstract class. It contains some abstract classes. So do you know what is abstract class or abstract keyword? Do you know about abstract keyword? Abstract is a keyword or not? So abstract is a keyword. To the abstract classes, we cannot create the object. We cannot create the object. So what is the abstract class here? The class name called as shape is the abstract class, and it contains some abstract method also. It contains some abstract method also. The abstract method name is area. The abstract method name is area. What is abstract method? What is abstract method? Abstract methods are the methods which do not contain any body or implementation, which do not contain any body or implementation. So without any body or implementation, so we call it that method as abstract method. We call that method as abstract method. So I will show you what are the abstract methods are available inside the a class called as shape. Class called as shape here. Okay, so double and super keyword A and B. So there are different shapes. There are different shapes here. So one is a circle, triangle, rectangle, and square. Rectangle and square. So we need to find out the area of each and every shape. each and every shape. Okay, so observe here. The class name is shape. The class name is shape. The shape is a abstract class. The shape is a abstract class. So why we can call it as abstract? Because when we have the abstract method, the class and must and should be abstract. So when we have abstract method, the class should be abstract class. So class lo abstract method unte automatic గా క్లాస్ కూడా ఏ క్లాస్ అవుతుంది? అబ్స్ట్రాక్ట్ క్లాస్ అవుతుంది. ఏ క్లాస్ అవుతుంది? అబ్స్ట్రాక్ట్ క్లాస్ అవుతుంది. అబ్స్ట్రాక్ట్ క్లాసెస్ కి ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అనేది క్రియేట్ చేయలేము. అబ్స్ట్రాక్ట్ క్లాసెస్ కి ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అనేది క్రియేట్ చేయలేము. సో మరి దేనికి ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేయాలి? So we should take subclass. We should take subclass. So shape అనేది సూపర్ క్లాస్ అనుకుంటే రెక్టాంగిల్ అనేది సబ్ క్లాస్. సో ఏ క్లాస్ కి? షేప్ అనే క్లాస్ కి. ఏ క్లాస్ కి? షేప్ అనే క్లాస్ కి. సో ఇన్ దిస్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, సో రెక్టాంగిల్ ఈస్ ది సబ్ క్లాస్ టు షేప్ క్లాస్. సో షేప్ లో ఎన్ని మెథడ్స్ ఉన్నాయి? ఎన్ని వేరియబుల్స్ ఉన్నాయి? సో దేర్ ఆర్ టూ వేరియబుల్స్, డైమెన్షన్ 1 అండ్ dimension 2. And what is the method name? Area. So this is abstract method. This is abstract method. ఎందుకు ఇది abstract method? So without any body, without any body or implementation. సో ఇట్లా మెథడ్స్ ఉంటే ఆ క్లాస్ ని అబ్స్ట్రాక్ట్ క్లాస్ అంటాం. ఆ క్లాస్ ఏ క్లాస్ అంటాం? అబ్స్ట్రాక్ట్ క్లాస్ అంటాము. These abstract classes, we should create subclass. To these abstract classes, we should create subclass. Any subclasses create చేసాం ఇక్కడ? Rectangle is one of the subclass. Square is one of the subclass. Triangle is also one of the subclass. And circle is also one of the subclass. So circle is 1, triangle is 2, square is 3, and rectangle is 4. So any classes create చేసాము? 4 subclasses. In each and every class, there is a method called as area. In each and every class, there is a method called as area. So area which returns double. Area which returns double. So rectangle area as well as square area as well as triangle area as well as circle area. So these methods are used to find out the area of different shapes. Area of different shapes. So rectangle, circle, square, and triangle. So what we need to do is we have to create each and every object. We have to create each and every object. How many objects are available? 4. Rectangle, square, triangle, and circle. Rectangular object enti R. So square object enti S. Triangle object enti T. And circle object enti 4. So each and every constructor ఎన్ని parameters తీసుకుంటున్నారు? 2. A and B. సో ఇక్కడ A and B, ఇక్కడ కూడా A and B, ఇక్కడ కూడా A and B. So two properties we have to supply. Two properties we have to supply. So 3 comma 4, 5 comma 5, 2 comma 3, 4 comma 4. So the abstract class demo some information. The area of rectangle R dot area, that is rectangular dot area. The area of square S dot area, that is square of area. Triangle T dot area, circle C dot area. So we have to call the methods. We have to call the methods by creating the object of each and every class. By creating the object of each and every class, so that we can find out the area of each and every different shape. So our class name is main 4 dot Java. Main 4 dot Java. So Java C space for main 4 dot Java, and Java space main Java space main 4. So abstract class demo, and area of rectangle is something, and area of square is something, and area of triangle is something, and area of circle is something. So this is how we demonstrate the abstract classes. The meaning is if any single abstract method is available, if any single abstract method is available, that class become abstract class. Class become abstract class. If the abstract class is available, we have to create the subclasses. We have to create the subclasses. So four subclasses are created, and to the four classes we have created the object, and after that we have called the area method. We have called the area method. So coming to the next program. Coming to the next program. Write a Java program to give example for super keyword. Give example for super keyword. So this is also same. So you need to use the super keyword. You need to use the super keyword. So just a minute. I'll copy. So I'll copy the simple super keyword is used to the super keyword is used to invoke the method from the super class. Invoke the method from the super class. So here there are two classes. There are two classes. The first one is student class. The first one is student class. Second one is faculty class. Second one is faculty class. In each and every student and faculty class, in each student and sorry in student and faculty class, it contains a method called as message. A method called as message. A method called as message. Okay, just give me a minute. I will arrange this code and I will explain. So faculty.java, right? So observe here, there are two classes. Student class. Student class contain some method name called as message. Some message name called as message. And the faculty class is also available. Faculty class is also available. It contains same method name message. Okay, so message is a method that is available in student class as well as faculty class. Student class as well as faculty class. So this is called as overriding. This is called as overriding. So which overriding? Method overriding. So same method name, same parameter. Same method name, same parameter, but within the superclass and subclass. Within the superclass and subclass. So override method ఉన్నప్పుడు సో డైరెక్ట్ గా మెథడ్ కాల్ చేస్తే ఏ మెథడ్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది? సో దిస్ మెథడ్ ఇన్వోక్ ఆర్ call current class object method. Current class object method. So that means, so if I create the faculty class object, it will call faculty method. If I create the student class object, it will call student class method. So if I want to create faculty class object and if I want to call super class method, that is student method. So mandatory, we need to use super keyword here. Mandatory, we need to use the super keyword method. So then, so display method will invoke the so message from faculty as well as message from student. Message from faculty and message from student. So the class name is faculty. The class name is faculty. So Java C space faculty. So Java C space faculty dot Java and Java space faculty. Java space faculty. So there is a output called as good morning and student and faculty message called as good morning sir. So this is from student and this is from faculty. This is from faculty. So nothing is there in the program. Nothing is there in program. So they are taking two classes by overriding a method called as message, by overriding a message called by overriding a method called as message. So after that, they are using the display method to call message from subclass and message from superclass. So that's it. Display is a non-static method. In order to call non-static method, faculty object is created and then display method is called. And then display method is called. So this is what about super keyword. This is what about super keyword. And coming to the next part, exception handling. Coming to the next part, exception handling. Exception handling. So do you know what is exception handling? What is exception handling? మీ క్లాస్ అయిందా ఎక్సెప్షన్ హ్యాండ్లింగ్? క్లాస్ అయిందా రెగ్యులర్ క్లాస్‌లో? ఎక్సెప్షన్ హ్యాండ్లింగ్ అయిందా? అయిందా? కాలేదా? అయిందా? కాలేదా? అయింది గానీ గుర్తులేదా? రైట్. So observe this program. Okay. Exception handling in Java. Okay. So there is try block, there is catch block, and there is final. Okay. So these are the blocks. These are what? Blocks. So these blocks are used to handle the exception. These blocks are used to handle the exceptions. Handle the exception. The process of exception handling is the process of handling the exception is called as exception handling. The process of handling the exception is called as exception handling. Exception handling ఎట్లా చేస్తారు? By using try, catch, and finally first. Throw and throws next. Okay. So try, catch, and finally blocks. Main use is throw, try, catch, and finally. The process of handling the exception is called as exception handling. సో ఇక్కడ ఏం రాశారు? ఇక్కడ ట్రై బ్లాక్ ఉంది. ఇక్కడ ఏముంది? ట్రై బ్లాక్ ఉంది. సో నెక్స్ట్ ఏం రాశారు? క్యాచ్ బ్లాక్. సో we have to write a try block, and after that we have to write a catch block, and after that we have to write a catch block. So whatever the statement we'll write inside the try block, all the statements should be executed. All the statements should be executed. Even exception may occur or may not occur. Even exception may occur or may not occur. అంటే ఎక్సెప్షన్ వచ్చినా ఎక్సెప్షన్ రాకపోయినా ఆ ఉన్న స్టేట్మెంట్స్ అన్ని కూడా ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవ్వాలి. ఉన్న స్టేట్మెంట్స్ అన్ని కూడా ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవ్వాలి. సో ఇన్ దిస్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ సో మనము కంపైల్ చేస్తే సో ఎన్ని స్టేట్మెంట్స్ ఉన్నాయి? సో ఫస్ట్ సెకండ్ సో ఎన్ని ప్రింట్ ఎలిమెంట్స్ ఉన్నాయి ఇక్కడ? సో దెర్ ఈస్ 1 and there is 2 and there is 3. How many statements are there available? Print ln statement 3 print ln statement. So one is outside the try block, another one is inside the catch block, one is inside the try block. సో ఎన్ని సిస్టమ్ డాట్ అవుటర్ ప్రింట్ఎల్ఎన్ స్టేట్మెంట్స్ ఉన్నాయి ఇక్కడ? 3 ఉన్నాయి. ఒకటి ట్రై బ్లాక్ లో ఉంది, ఒకటి క్యాచ్ బ్లాక్ లో ఉంది, ఒకటి అవుట్ సైడ్ ది ట్రై క్యాచ్ లో ఉంది. సో ఎన్ని ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతున్నాయో చూద్దాం. ఇప్పుడు ఎన్ని ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతున్నాయో చూద్దాము. సో జావా సి స్పేస్ ఎక్సెప్షన్ డెమో డాట్ జావా అండ్ జావా స్పేస్ exception demo and java space exception demo. So any statements వచ్చినాయి? 2 statements వచ్చినాయి. Out of 3 we have got 2 statements. That means all the statements are not executed. All the statements are not executed. So ఎందుకు execute అవ్వలేదు అంటే, so when we have a couple of statements in the try block, when we have couple of statements in the try block, once the exception is occurred, so exception ఎందుకు వచ్చింది? సో d equals to 0 and a equals to 42 by d. 42 by d means 42 by 0. That means so something by 0. So something by 0 in a sense infinity. So that is not possible to store infinity value. This is not possible to store infinity value. So in this line, so we got an exception. In this line, we got an exception. After exception is occurred, so it will not execute. Any statement. So simple observe here. So I'll copy the same system dot out dot println. I'll paste one more keyword. Yeah. 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So I have written 5 system dot out dot println statement after exception. I'll try to execute. So Java C space exception demo dot Java and Java space exception demo. So even though so it has executed only 2 statements, because once the exception object is occurred, so it will not execute remaining statement from the try block. Directly it will go to catch block. And it will execute remaining statement from outside the try block. It will not execute try block statement. As a developer, we have to execute all the statement from the try block. This is what handle the exception. exception. Suppose let us assume if it is 1, if it is 1, so it will execute all the statement. It will execute all the statement. Exception demo that executed all the statement except catch block, except catch block. So when it is exception, when it is exception, it will not execute all the statement from the try block. It will not execute all the statement from the try block. When it is no exception, when it is no exception, it will not execute catch block. When it is no exception, it will not execute catch block. సో క్యాచ్ బ్లాక్ ఎప్పుడు ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది? ఓన్లీ ఎక్సెప్షన్ ఉన్నప్పుడు మాత్రమే ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది. సో వితౌట్ ఎక్సెప్షన్, సో ఇట్ విల్ నాట్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ క్యాచ్ బ్లాక్. ఇట్ విల్ నాట్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ క్యాచ్ బ్లాక్. సో మనకి ఇంకో బ్లాక్ కూడా ఉంది, ట్రై క్యాచ్ అండ్ ఫైనల్లీ. ట్రై క్యాచ్ అండ్ ఫైనల్లీ. సో ఫైనల్లీ బ్లాక్ రాస్తాం ఇక్కడ. సో ఫైనల్లీ బ్లాక్, ఓపెన్ ది బ్లాక్ అండ్ క్లోజ్ ది బ్లాక్. సో inside this, so system dot out dot println. So system dot out dot println. So within this println, I'm going to write some finally. I'm going to write some finally. So observe here, observe here. So with exception, with exception, so which blocks are executing? So which blocks are executing? So Java C exception demo and Java space exception demo. So it has executed the catch block. It has executed the finally back. It has executed the after catch block also. So now I'll change it to no exception. I'll change it to no exception. So without exception, so it will not execute catch block. It will not execute catch block. So directly it will execute. So try and statement, try all statement and try statements are executed and finally block also executed and after catch is executed, but catch statement is not ఎగ్జిక్యూటెడ్. సో ఏం చెప్పొచ్చు ఇక్కడ, బట్ ఫైనల్లీ ఎప్పుడు ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయింది? 2 times విత్ ఎక్సెప్షన్ అండ్ వితౌట్ ఎక్సెప్షన్. సో ఇర్రెస్పెక్టివ్ ఆఫ్ ది ఎక్సెప్షన్, the finally block will get executed. Irrespective of the exception, the finally block will be executed. సో ఏం చెప్పొచ్చు, క్యాచ్ బ్లాక్ ఎప్పుడు ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది అంటే ఏం చెప్పొచ్చు, ఓన్లీ వెన్ వీ హ్యావ్ ఎక్సెప్షన్, ఓన్లీ వెన్ వీ హ్యావ్ ది exception, catch block will execute, but finally exception may occur or may not occur, catch block, sorry, finally block will get executed. సో ఇక్కడ ఏం ఎక్సెప్షన్ వస్తుంది మనకి, ఇక్కడ ఏ ఎక్సెప్షన్ వస్తుంది మనకి, arithmetic exception. ఎందుకు, we are performing the arithmetic operation, we are performing the arithmetic operation. So that is the reason why ఏ ఎక్సెప్షన్ వస్తుంది మనకి, arithmetic exception. ఏ ఎక్సెప్షన్ వస్తుంది, arithmetic exception, right? observe here, observe here, arithmetic exception, arithmetic exception, we call this as arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception is a subclass to runtime exception. Arithmetic exception is a subclass to runtime exception. Runtime exception is a subclass to exception. Runtime exception is a subclass to exception. And exception is a subclass to throwable. Throwable is a subclass to object. Okay, so observe the hierarchy, observe the hierarchy. So there are some exception classes: arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, class cascade exception, index out of bound exception, illegal argument exception, IO exception, interrupted exception, remote exception, file not found exception, array index out of bound exception, string index out of bound exception, number format exception. All these exception classes, all these are what? Exception classes. All these are what? Exception classes. These exception classes, these exception classes are subclasses to exception. Okay. So listen everybody. So all the exception classes are subclasses to exception class. All the exception classes are subclasses to a superclass called as exception. And we have some error classes also. VM error, assertion error, linkage error, verify error, out of memory error, stack overflow error. All the error classes. What is the superclass? Error. What is the superclass? Error. So there are two types of classes. There are two types of classes: exception classes, error classes. Exception classes and error classes. To all the error classes, what is the superclass? Error. To all the exception classes, what is the superclass? Exception. To the exception and error, throwable is the superclass. To the exception and error, throwable is the superclass. To all the Java classes, the superclass is object. The superclass is object. So now arithmetic exception is a subclass to runtime exception. Arithmetic exception is a runtime to runtime. Sorry, arithmetic exception is a subclass to runtime exception. So subclass object ni superclass lo store చేయొచ్చా? సబ్ క్లాస్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ని సూపర్ క్లాస్ లో స్టోర్ చేయొచ్చా? బట్ సూపర్ క్లాస్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ని సబ్ క్లాస్ లో స్టోర్ చేస్తామా? సో చేయలేం. సో సబ్ క్లాస్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ని సూపర్ క్లాస్ లో స్టోర్ చేయొచ్చు. సో ఇక్కడ ఏం చెప్తున్నా అంటే నేను, మనకి ఏ ఎక్సెప్షన్ వస్తుంది ప్రోగ్రామ్ లో? సో వి విల్ గెట్ ఆరిథమెటిక్ ఎక్సెప్షన్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్. ఏ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ వస్తుంది? ఆరిథమెటిక్ ఎక్సెప్షన్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్. సో ఇక్కడ ఆరిథమెటిక్ ఎక్సెప్షన్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఎక్కడ ఉంది? విచ్ ఈస్ ఏ సబ్ క్లాస్ ఆఫ్ రన్ టైమ్ ఎక్సెప్షన్. విచ్ ఈస్ ఏ సబ్ క్లాస్ టు రన్ టైమ్ ఎక్సెప్షన్. సో రన్ టైమ్ ఎక్సెప్షన్ ఈజ్ ఏ సబ్ క్లాస్ టు exception. Runtime exception is a subclass to exception. Exception is a subclass to throwable. So what I can say is, I can write multiple catch blocks also. I can write multiple catch blocks also. So catch. So catch, open the catch and close the catch. Open the catch and close the catch. Runtime exception RT. Runtime exception RT. So system dot out dot println. So system dot out dot println runtime exception. Runtime exception. In the same way, I can also write exception. I can also write exception. This is exception. This is exception. And I can also write throwable T. So observe here. We have single try block. we have single try block. To the single try block, we have defined multiple catch blocks. We have defined multiple catch block. So first catch block is arithmetic exception. The second catch block is runtime exception. And third catch block is exception. And the fourth one is, just give me a time. Okay. So arithmetic exception catch, runtime exception catch, and throwable catch. So to the single try block, we have defined multiple catch blocks. So whether it is possible or not, so we will check. We will check. So Java C exception demo dot Java and Java space exception demo. Java space exception demo. So it has executed finally. So it has executed finally. So because no exception, because no exception. So if it is exception, so which cache block it is going to get executed? Which cache block is going to get execute? Suppose let us assume. So I'll write arithmetic exception class. Arithmetic exception class. సో ఇక్కడ ఒక స్ట్రైక్ కి ఎన్ని క్యాచ్ బ్లాక్స్ ఉన్నాయి? 4 క్యాచ్ బ్లాక్స్ ఉన్నాయి. ఆర్థమెటిక్ ఎక్సెప్షన్, రన్ టైమ్ ఎక్సెప్షన్, ఎక్సెప్షన్ అండ్ థ్రోబుల్. సో ఇప్పుడు మనకి ఏ ఎక్సెప్షన్ వస్తుంది? సో వీఆర్ పర్ఫార్మింగ్ arithmetic operation. So that is the reason why. So we are going to get arithmetic exception. So that, so which cache block is going to get execute? So which cache block is going to get execute? So Java C exception demo and Java space exception demo. So a exception object, arithmetic exception object, arithmetic exception object is executed. Suppose let us assume I'll delete this arithmetic exception object. I'll delete arithmetic exception object. So ఇప్పుడు ఏ క్యాచ్ బ్లాక్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది? రన్ టైమ్ క్యాచ్ బ్లాక్. ఏ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది? రన్ టైమ్ క్యాచ్ బ్లాక్. సో ఏం ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయింది మళ్ళీ? ఆర్థమెటిక్ ఎక్సెప్షన్. సో వీ హ్యావ్ నాట్ సేవ్డ్ దిస్ ఫైల్. సో we didn't save. That is the reason why arithmetic. After saving the file, you need to compile and you have to execute. So a catch block execute అయింది? Runtime catch block. Suppose if I delete runtime, if I delete runtime, so it will execute exception catch block. It will execute exception catch block. So Java C, Java exception. So exception. So that is the reason why. Suppose if I write, if I write runtime exception after throwable, if I write runtime exception after throwable, so it will not allow to compile. It will not allow to compile. So exception, runtime exception is already been caught. So we can write multiple catch blocks. We can write multiple catch blocks to the single try. We can write multiple catch blocks to the single try, but we have to follow the order. We have to follow the order. The order is nothing but subclass to superclass, subclass to superclass.